it's recording. Okay, I'm going to put a wire kit together using the parts and the tools that I showed you earlier. First, I put a little solder on my iron, and I have already stripped this wire, and I'm going to tin it, which means I'm going to permeate it with solder. Next, I'll tin my parts of my jack. Before I do that, I want to put the plastic part of the jack on the wire so I don't forget. Run the wire through it. And then I just use an overhand knot to hold it in place until I get ready to use it. Now, I've got the jack in the helping hands. Put a little solder on my iron, and I want to put solder on this part of the jack, the extension that's actually ground. Okay, now I have to take that wire that I already stripped and I tinned, put it into the holes in these other connections, and I'll use my needle nose pliers to line them up. And that's why you don't want to put excess solder on this wire, because it's got to fit through these two small holes. And I just hope I can see them well enough to do this. Okay, so I've got this through now, and I just bend it over slightly here to keep it in place when I get ready to solder. Put it back in my clamps there. Now, this will eventually wind up here, and here's my second wire, and I mark that, cut it off. Cut the excess off here, and now I'll strip it. And get it ready. Now I can put it in my clamp and tin it. Now I have to solder the first connections to the tip and ring, and there's a reason for doing this in order. This is a tough part because I don't want to ground the tip and the ring to the ground. So is 1, and that should be 2. No movement. Clip off the excess. And that's ready to go. Now, I take a piece of tape cut a little of it off and put it around the wire to the connection to the tip in the ring, just for some extra insulation and security for that connection. You don't have to do this, but I found it helps. Now the next thing is to make my ground connection. I've got both sides tinned, so when this melts, makes the connection. Put a little heat sink on there, suck the heat out of it, and test it, pull test it. So that's a good connection. Last step with this, or last two steps, is first I put the other wire in there. Use my needle nose pliers to crimp that down on that side. And that's a very strong connection now. Undo my knot. Put my end piece on there. Now, I've already separated these wires. And I have to strip them and put them on put the plates on. But before I do that, I'm going to test this connection, because every so often I've gotten bad jacks. Now what we should see here is no continuity between the tip, the ring, and that's exactly what we got. No continuity, so it's a good jack and the connections are good. Now what we have to do is test the tip and the ring, and you see the needle go all the way. That means I've got a good connection there. So we'll stop that there. Now, I'll strip these wires. I try to leave a little insulation on the end like that so I can give it a good twist. I blew it on that one, but I can still twist them okay. It's not too important on these connections. Now, just to be sure, of my connections, I can do this again. My meter. It'd be better if, you know, every once in a while I've gotten wire right from the store that had a break in it. So this is my tip and ring wire. Nothing. Yes, I got a good continuity there. Now tip and ring. Perfect. So this is ready to go. As I described earlier, I take the wire, I fold it over the end of the insulation. Then I have this 14 to 16 gauge. There's 22 gauge wire, as I previously mentioned. There's a 14 to 16 gauge connector, and I can put the insulation and the wire right into this. So I've pushed these in place, and if you zoom in, you can see the wire is showing here and here in these. Now the next thing, I just crimp them, and that's one. Test it. That's two. Test it. I'm using a slightly different wire stripper here. This is an automatic stripper where 22 gauge is up against this side of it, and I just squeeze the handles. This part grabs the wire and then just strips it. I like it better than the stripper that I got with this. So now the next move is to take my plate, line it up, line that connection I put on, and then stick my pop rivet through the hole in the plate and the connection. And I can just spread the handles of the pop riveter, put it in there. It's up, it's already seated now. These are stainless steel, so they take a little more strength. Now see, it stopped, and now I push it in more to get another grab on it, and you'll hear it pop now. If I can squeeze it hard enough. Oh. And there it goes. Next time I'll use aluminum. So now I have my second pop rivet. Put it in place. Grab my second plate. Line it up. Stick the rivet through. I have to push it. There, see? You can feel it when it goes as far as it's going to go on one bite. Now I spread the handles again, and I got to get that second bite, and that's always tough with stainless. It's a two-hander again. And that's it. That's the entire wire kit is made. Final thing will be, get my jack up here. This wire, by the way, is 10 feet. Because it comes, I buy it 100 feet per spool. So this way I can get 10 units out of a single spool of wire. I think I mentioned that earlier. So now, get my trusty multimeter here. See how the plates tend to come together. You don't want to ever let that happen when you've got them plugged into your amplifier and you're going to put power on the system, because you'll burn out your headphone jack right away. So now we'll test. So that's ground. Test this. I should get nothing. Exactly nothing. Now I'm on that. Test the other plate. I got full contact. Ring, full contact, which is what I expected. So this wire kit is ready to go. Thank you for watching and listening. End of the 5th video.